So it's time for us to discuss small office, home office, WAN, and cloud network architectures. Now, I got to tell you right up front, there's just a tremendous amount of variety that you can be dealing with here. But when we look at the small office, home office, it's always pretty simple. In fact, it's deceptively simple. So we'll have like a bunch of computers. Those could be laptops, tablets. We could have our, traditional server set up. We could have a network-based printer. We could even have IP phones in the small office, home office. And from the end user perspective, the consumer of the network, it all looks like we're just connecting to an access point oftentimes. But we know that the access point that we're connecting to for the network access, we actually know that it is a router. Typically, there's the routing functionality built in. We may have devices hardwired into it, so it is certainly acting as a switch. So we can have all of this device functionality built right in to what really looks like this little wireless access point that our service provider gave us. And oftentimes they don't give it to us, right? There's a charge for the installation of that device that's bringing all of this great functionality to us in the small office, home office. By the way, you could take this even a step further. It is firewalling oftentimes, so it's also acting like a firewall for us as well. Now, the small office, home office isn't very exciting these days, though, without wide area networking. And I'm going to show you exactly how I have my small office, home office set up right now. I've got multiple access points, and they're making wide area network connections out to multiple internet service providers. So I have one that makes a WAN connection using DSL, and let's see, I pay for asymmetric DSL. This is a very low cost connection. Let's say it's ISP2. So I'm using for ISP2 this very low cost asymmetric DSL. Asymmetric meaning my download speeds are like, I think I get about 12 megabits per second, but the upload is like 2 megabits per second. So a lot faster down than up. And it's real low cost because it's real low speed. And note what I'm doing, that is my emergency connection to get out to my cloud resources. My primary WAN connection is much more expensive. It's to ISP1, and it is a cable modem type of device. And I'm using that to do I think I get about 150 megabits per second up and down. So it's a symmetric type speed arrangement. It's very fast for what I need to do. And it is the primary WAN connection that I'm using to get to all of those wonderful cloud resources. And speaking of cloud, the cloud model, when we talk about topologies, it really isn't the topology that's important. It's more the as a service model you're using. So for instance, if I'm using Gmail, Google's Mail for cloud, I'm using what's called software as a service. And I am shielded from any knowledge of any topology at all in use. I just click on the icon for Google Mail, it pops up. I use my email thanks to that wonderful software as a service. I don't know anything about the network topology by design. Now, you might know a little bit more about the cloud topology if you're working with platform as a service. This is geared at developers. And the idea is they can get to any development resource that they need in the cloud, including things like a whole bunch of different operating systems, including mobile operating systems, so that they can test their applications against those different operating systems. So platform as a service, again, shielding them from the complexities of any topology, and by them, I mean our developers. And then there's infrastructure as a service, and this is where you might be setting up some network topology, but you're doing it cloud-based. So the networks are virtualized in the cloud, the servers are virtualized in the cloud, the firewalls are virtualized in the cloud. all those network topology ingredients, you're going to organize into a topology, but it's all going to be virtualized with infrastructure as a service in your cloud environment. So the sky's the limit, no pun intended, when it comes to topologies and the cloud, and how shielded you are from the topology depends on the as a service model that you are going with.